man Strother from Strother PT, and you're listening and watching the Independent Trainer Podcast. And my next guest is esteemed fashion designer. You've seen him on brands such as I Work Out. You've seen him on GQ. You've seen him with tons of different people, and most notably his personal brand, STLR Aesthetics, Mr. Max Shannon, Esquire. Welcome to the Independent Traders Podcast. Today's guest is my esteemed colleague, Max Shannon.
Thank you. Welcome.
Welcome it yourself. Welcome, Max.
Welcome, I'm here.
Max is here. We're going to talk about how one navigates a personal brand and a personal line of clothing. How do you create a clothing line moving from the fitness industry and kind of like delving into different places in the fitness industry? Like right now, I feel like you got to be more than one thing. You know, if you're a private trainer or you're doing a Zoom class or you're doing some kind of like, I don't know, Soul Cycle, you got to have a playlist. So you got to be a DJ, which you are.
Yes.
Right? you got to have an individual style that separates you from everybody else, right? Because this industry is just oversaturated with, you know, just people that kind of trying to make a buck. But we're passionate about this, and this is what we do. And the third thing is you got to know fitness.
Yeah.
You know, you got to know how to get people in shape. Got to get them to move better. Got to get them to feel better. But tell us a little bit about yourself before we dive in to that whole sauce.
The sauce of fitness and fashion.
Yeah. Where are you from originally, man?
So I was born in California, and we moved around a little bit. I lived in Jersey after that when I was still really young. My sister was born out there. My pops grew up in LA. My mom was in Jersey. After that, moved to northern Arizona, and that's kind of where I grew up, kind of in a small town in Flagstaff. Like I said, very small town.
Shout out Wakanda Street.
Shout out Wakanda Street, for real. Wakanda Street, yeah, you know. Tom Shannon CPA. Shout
out to Tom Shannon, bro, the legend.
Yeah, so then I was in Flagstaff through college, and I guess let's kind of start there. Like when I was little, I was always into, you know, sports in general, but I was really into like martial arts as a kid, and I always, you know, like the tumbling aspect of it, the discipline aspect of it, but I always loved the fits, you know, when it came to every sport I played, whether it was like soccer, which is like my main squeeze, or martial arts, you know, whether it was like getting that nice gi, those colored belts, you know, get my new kit, my Ghostbusters costume, whatever it was. Like I enjoyed fits and clothing, and I liked to like make style on my own, you know, whether it was like thrifting with my mom's or whether it was like you know, just getting hand-me-downs from a friend's brother, whatever. But I like to like find stuff, make my own aesthetic, and then just like be my own, I guess, individual, because that's, you know, where fashion kind of always came from me. And I've always kind of had that mentality on things. Like you said, we try to like separate ourselves, and what better individuality off of first impression is like how you look. And,
absolutely. How would you describe today's fit today? Well, like, you know, like George Costanza, morning mist.
Yeah, George Costanza, classic, like casual, comfortable. You know, everything I like to wear has like comfortability. I want to be able to throw a high kick in any pair of pants. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Any pair of pants, you need that flex. Shout out Zach Danish.
You never know. You never know.
You never know if you need it. So, you know, everything I've made is like functional. But yeah, I'll get into that in a second. But yeah. I was always into like fashion, and I was always like into like sports, so naturally fitness kind of came with it. And through like martial arts, like I kind of got it, like I said, more into like the kind of gymnastics side of things, and so I got really intrigued into gymnastics and noticed how people like looked in order to be good at the sport. And so like in order to like do that, you have to be fit, you have to like be like strong in certain parts of your body. And so then I kind of got into like body shaping and like how I really want to like look, and I started off at the gym, trying to get into a gym at 13 and not being allowed because you're not old enough, you know, and then I like getting like a broomstick with a couple water jugs on each end, bench pressing on the floor. Yeah, I'm like
Shaolin Temple shit.
Yeah, literally curling like, you know, the 3-gallon jugs with a little spigot on the corner of my bed, trying to get like my preacher curls in, just to kind of like develop, you know, the strength that I needed to do to like, you know, do a muscle up on a pair of rings or hold myself up on a pommel horse, or like the things that I knew I wanted to do that I found interesting.
Dope. How did you find your way over here though? We don't have that culture in New York at all, but we do have some fashion.
Yeah, for sure.
Especially when it comes to like athleisure wear. How did you find your way over here to NYC?
So, like I said, I graduated Well, I graduated college in Flagstaff, and then I kind of started like this clothing line with a buddy of mine, but it was really more like t-shirts and die cuts for like our friends that I also like, I skated and snowboarded my whole life, but I had some friends that surfed out in California as well, so I wanted to get behind like sponsorships and kind of be like a new kind of more like boutique like Red Bull. Like I wanted to be a part of like bringing up like movement artists. It wasn't really about fashion in the beginning, it was just about like putting on my homies and then like having a brand to kind of like bring everybody together.
Right.
That's like, that's the Shannon way. That's my way. My pops has always been we're just like this, like forced to just bring our friends and people together.
Dope.
So we started making like tees and die cuts. Me and my homie Jeremy, we kind of started off. He was my like creative counterpart at the time. And after I graduated college, I moved out to Hawaii to like be out there for the Triple Crown, kind of be out there indefinitely and like throw all this like merch out, create a name for ourselves. Financial difficulties ran the way.
Right. What'd you learn from this experience?
Yeah, Hawaii was beautiful. We just realized that, you know, it wasn't the place to really like do what we wanted to do. So we moved back to the States, moved back to the main island and came to California for a little bit in Huntington Beach, and then kind of got a little bit more into cut and sew. Like we started like going to Joann's and buying fabric from Joann's, and then going to my tailor that I used to like, you know, taper my denim or whatever, and bring in like sample pieces of things that I liked, you know, like I brought in, like I remember brought in like an analog tank one time, and I didn't like the piping on it, and I didn't like how like long the hem was, and I didn't like exactly how the neck scoop was, and I remember bringing it to my tailor, just being like, hey, here's some fabric that I got from Joann's, again, shout out Joann's, and then we brought it over to my tailor, and just, she kind of replicated it, didn't make a pattern, didn't do anything, but we had these prototype pieces.
That's brilliant.
And that's
love
how
that
you
shit.
first get started, you know,
Yes.
like you bring in stuff that you like to wear, you bring it to somebody who knows how to make it, and then you like, you know, you find your fabrics, you find like your hand feel of what you want, and then before you know it, you have a piece. And then after that, then you're like, oh, well, if I want to make this like a real thing, like there's so much more that goes into it, from, you know, from creating the pattern from the tech pack to the pattern to the cutting to the to actually the sewing, the hang tags, the garment labels, everything that goes into creating like a piece of garment, from like packaging to distribution to social media to everything that it's turned into now, is just, it's so much. There's so much to do. And I just started with just, you know, making a prototype. And that's where we began. And we were supposed to be in California, and then we were out here for New Year's with my dad and a couple friends. And
You out here in New York?
I was out here for New York for New Year's, because my dad has always been, even though he's an LA boy, he's a New York guy at heart, you know. And we came out here for New Year's with a few friends, and my sister had a couple friends. And he's like, if you want to get into fashion, you guys want to do this thing, like, why are you living in California? Like at that time, like factories and like the accessibility of fashion in LA wasn't what it is now. Like there's so much out there, so many brands coming up. And Fairfax has always been there. It's always been the business, and it's always like, it's just not, it just wasn't as accessible, or at least to my knowledge at that time. This is around like, you know, 2009. And then I came to New York. We just packed up like all our clothes, and we just drove across country, me and 3 homies, and we're just like, you know, let's just do this. We know a couple grand in our pocket, and that was it. And we came out to New York, and, you know, one thing led to another of trying to like survive in the city of like.
And how did you find a way to do that?
So actually, my first gig was, you know, searching Craigslist. Actually, the first 3 of our gigs was, we all bartended at the Standard Hotel in Meatpacking. Right. That was like our first little like taste of the city, and how we got to like meet people, and, you know, you just like. From like my first night on the job, I'm like going to the bathroom carrying a rack of glasses, and I bump into like Paris Hilton, you know, like, and it's just, I'm like, wow, I'm in New York.
You in here, bro?
Know, I'm in New York. This is crazy, you know, like, yeah, Will Ferrell sitting at this table, Eli Manning's at the bar, like it was, the Standard was the hot spot. It had all the people the right people work there, and they like, you know, and they circulate well. So like everyone who works there ends up going working at some other spot in 6 months, because it's not like any real long-term space, but it pumps you out. And when you have that on your resume, you can work anywhere in the city. So that's how I kind of started, just like, you know, making a little bit of money for myself, and like trying to like.
I think that's when I kind of met you.
That's kind of when we started like kind of, because well, like in between that, one of my barbacks was in a band with Derek.
With Derek, that's right.
So
shout out to Derek Nicholas,
yeah,
Dr. Derek.
Derek out in Germany now. Is that where he is?
I think he is.
I think he's
but
still
he's
in
also
Germany.
he might even be a doctor at this point.
Is he really?
Dude, it's been that long. Shout out to Dr.
He's been
D.
going to school for a minute, man. We miss you, bro.
So when you got here to New York, you had the hustle. I mean, that's part of the game. But you know, I feel like you could have went a lot of different ways about it. You could have made some money. You made a ton ton of money in nightlife doing anything. You had the gift of gab anyway. I feel like you could have been a promoter. You could have saw that part of the game. What gravitated you towards fitness after meeting Derek? What made you think, like, you know what? Maybe I should try, like, personal training.
Yeah. So I've always been like, I guess, an opportunist more than like a real like goal getter. You know, like I'm not like the best planner when it comes to things either. Like as for like setting this like intention and really like making my way towards it. I'm not saying I haven't done that in my life, but I'm really good at like, I guess, seizing an opportunity and realizing that I lived in a gym since I was, you know, able to at like 14. You know, I was like, okay, this nightlife is hard. I want to be on the other side of the bar. You know, I don't want to always be on this side of the bar.
Right.
And yeah, I just got intrigued with like making money off of fitness because I heard like the money was lucrative. It was obviously a healthier lifestyle. And I got to connect through, I mean, that's why I really moved to New York, is to like meet with people and connect and network, because opportunity here is like literally 10 steps out your door if like you let it, you know?
It's everywhere,
But
yeah.
It's like anything, you know, you're not really aware of it until you're in it, you know? And then you're like, wow, this is, you know, this city's so much smaller than you think, or these opportunities are way more closer than you think, or anyways, I got a connection with Rich Beretta where we met, you know? And
shout out to RB.
Shout out RB, big time. And I went over, met with him, and we vibed out on like, you know, he snowboards and, you know, he skates too. So like we instantly like meshed on like that world and, you know, tattoos, and just kind of like we vibed. Like he definitely understood like what I did and the fact that I like not only cared about fitness, but through gymnastics, I actually learned about proper like body movement. Like you can't really like move improper when you're in gymnastics, or
there's no room for error.
there's no room for error. You just, it's injury. That's all it is.
Right.
And even like soccer, I've always like appreciated like the ritual and like doing things in like kind of like a stylistic way, like clothing, athletics, you know, the way I walk, everything I try to like, I just consciously do with like a style, you know?
How do you think, that's very interesting, because I think that the way that we dress affects the people around us. The style that we exhibit to the world, it kind of affects everyone subconsciously. How do you think your brand, STLR Aesthetics, how do you think it affects people subconsciously?
So it's so strange because I'm so close to it, and I know how I feel like I would want it. Like I always wanted to do like a minimalistic look. The whole point of creating STLR was, as I got into personal training, I didn't want to look like a trainer.
Right.
You know, that was the whole thing. I didn't want to rock around and everyone's like Nike, everyone's
Spandex,
Adidas, and the same thing. Yeah. Everyone's wearing like the same like tight half zip ups, you know, and
at the
like
time
the
it
joggers,
was,
all this. And then Lululemon was coming out and doing all this stuff, and I was just like, God, I don't want to wear any of this. But I'm like, I can't walk around in like raw denim, you know, like I can't do a squat in that, you know. So like, how do I? And this was even before they started throwing synthetic into denim. So stretch jeans wasn't even really a thing yet.
This didn't exist yet. We didn't have any athleisure was not a thing.
Yeah, Lululemon was the first like closest step to getting there, and then there was, you know, Outdoor Voice. There's a couple other brands that kind of like pushed the envelope a little bit.
Right.
But I wanted to make something not only that was like not like trainer-esque, but it was like so simple and minimalistic that it made any individual who wanted to wear it, like they could make it their own. They could throw a piece with like whatever other style they want. Don't get me wrong, it was a little fashion forward, so like it took like someone who really like appreciated that kind of style to like it.
You guys were way ahead of your time. You guys are way, like I see the shit that, for example, Asrv is making.
Oh yeah.
Those motherfuckers.
Dude, when
make great stuff.
Yeah,
Please sponsor me.
I've
been rocking the Asrv shit heavy, but a lot of the pieces, especially their long cut stuff, where it has like the boxy kind of like a wide neck. The neckline is a little wide, and tiny neck motherfuckers like me, you know, will rock it anyway. But it looks great. It looks just like early STLR. It looked like what you guys are making. The shorts were a little more basketball baggy style, but when you put the pieces together, you can wear it with anything.
For sure.
STLR is so versatile. And you can wear it like under something. You can wear it over something. You can wear a hoodie over it. You can wear a hoodie under it.
Right.
You can wear pants over. Like the stuff that you guys made was just like I think you already know this, but I believe that it was very, very fashion forward.
So
you were way ahead of your time.
Yeah, like well, thank you. I appreciate
You're way ahead of your
that. We
time.
definitely tried to be in this like timeless realm that was like, again, like it was pushing the boundaries for like fashion fitness, but still was like within reach. Like even though like Asrv like has similar cuts and whatever, they're still like a form-fitting brand, and we wanted to be like oversized. We wanted to like. We wanted to flatter the body without like showing it off. You know,
Right.
we wanted the right cuts in the arms, with the right cuts in the legs, but not like super tight, not like. Again, even though like I've always been like a little bit bigger too when it comes to like my size. So like if I wear like smaller clothes, I never liked it. So I always had to buy extra large, you know, to appreciate the comfort and how I like to like dress.
I think making clothes for yourself
That's key.
is key
For anyone wanting to start a brand. Is like you do what, just like any work, you do what you love, and then the rest will come. But if you're trying to make something for someone else, you're just gonna get over it. You're gonna get bored with it, and unless that's really like what your mission is to do something for someone else. I don't know, just the easiest way for me to come about it, or I feel like most people starting a brand, is like going off of your own steez, going off your own like, and just what you want to wear, what you want to do.
Exactly. I think that in my limited experience of being around people like yourself that had the courage to step up and kind of say, you know what, I have multiple passions about fitness. And not just like getting a sweat on and like training people, the whole culture of fitness. I really commend you on that. That really takes a lot of courage to do that. Because I remember the first day I met you, you were like, I'm going to do this thing. I'm going to create this thing. This is what I want to do. And you fucking did it. You just sat, you got it together. You got with the right folks. You had an amazing partner, Dan. Shout out to Dan. You guys really like, you just put all the eggs in your basket and you got into it. And I remember the whole gym being behind it.
Everyone was stellar out.
Everybody was stellar out because we supported each other.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it was so important to have a culture and a community inside your gym that supports up and coming people because they want to see your vision grow for real.
Yeah.
You know, nobody was like, oh, can I get a free piece or something? They was like, yo, I'll gladly pay for it. We want to see you shine. Can I introduce you to
clients too?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Your clients bought my stuff and my clients bought your stuff and Beretta was like, you know,
Leslie Frumis, I still train Carrie, you know, and she comes through the camera on our Zoom sessions, rocking a Strother PT.
Every day. She's like, I love that giant middle finger in the back. I was in a different place then. No, I still rock the middle. Shout out to Creep Street, by the way.
Street.
My favorite fucking brand ever. Still, I think that just like having that community behind you is so important. But if you're just starting out, how do you market yourself?
Honestly, I didn't really like know at first. Like when I kind of transitioned from bartending into personal training, and then again, once I got into personal training, like 2 or 3 years into it, I ended up meeting Dan for the first time, and he was also from a small town like I was, but also had this like fashion-forward state of mind and definitely appreciated style, and we connected on things, and I was like, bro, this is.
Dude, that's like you just met Dan at that point?
I just met Dan.
Really?
2 or 3 years in RV, because he was brought over by Adam Razak. Adam
no
brought him
way.
over from like a New York sports club.
What?
Yeah, and so he came. I remember Dan's gonna hate me for this story, but I remember he walked in to RB rocking this like super like baggy heathered like Puma sweatpants.
No.
Like a schmedium Obey t-shirt, a big old camo backpack, and I was just like, man. But he walked right over, introduced himself, and I thought that was the most respect. Like whenever there was a new trainer in the gym or whatever, I kind of like.
We all would.
Yeah, yo, he better come say hi to me. He better introduce himself, or she better introduce herself, or like.
You go to someone's house, you say hello.
Oh, of course. And he was, super respectable. And again, we started talking like as things progressed, and after I told him he needed to burn those sweatpants, that I wanted to, like, I had this clothing company that I kind of started, but I wanted to now pivot into this more like active style, because that's now what I was doing at the time. I was, wasn't so much into like being with the homies, skating, surfing, snowboarding. I was personal training, but I still needed something to like fit this like lifestyle. And so we started grabbing some pieces that like you hold on to those certain pieces forever. Those ones that you're just like, I'm going to use that, or I'm going to wear that one day.
Yes.
And they'll sit there forever, but then that one time you want it, you're like, damn, I'm so glad I still have that. And that's kind of what it came to with like creating clothes. I was like, I had that piece for however long, and anyways, we wanted to make a minimalistic closet So we made 5 styles first. We did like a long short that was a blend between a basketball short and like a boxing short, and then we made a short that was kind of a blend between like a Muay Thai and a running short.
Right.
And then we did 3 different tops. So we did like a tee, we did a tank, and a sleeveless. Just 3 different cuts, all in the fitness realm that we're all just like, this is where we want to start.
Those 3 cuts are like the most imitated cuts
Totally.
in the entire world right now.
And everyone has that cut.
Everyone has that cut now. Asrv has that cut. Random Instagram, just like on your timeline. Random, like, you know, you just swipe through stories and you just see people like trying to sell you like, those shirts
There's
are
a brand called like The Cuts, and I think it's like,
yes,
the
Cuts.
Yeah, and they have like the same thing.
Yes,
Yeah, like,
I'm like, what? You guys are like 5 years so late, dude.
It's
like,
crazy, but nowadays, later, I mean, everyone has a brand, and now the accessibility of like promotions and marketing, like we were at, like, you know, full circle what we're talking about, like it's just so much more accessible now. It wasn't that accessible back then, which is also kind of cool though. Like after we made our first prototypes, we got connected with another friend who's a little bit older in the game. He'd worked with like Doc Martin and Body Glove, a couple like really cool brands, but just understood like manufacturing and overseas relationships. So we were connected through him, through another friend of ours over at Converse, Jason Tome, who's
Jason,
amazing human. Yeah, you know Jason.
Yeah.
Shout out Jason. He's been a good mentor and like just an advocate for like my whole process throughout like everything here in New York. And so he connected me with this guy, and we all started building and creating this concept. And the biggest thing was trying to find, you know, the right fabric, the right hand feel, the right function, because that was the whole point of the brand. It was not to just be like a cool style that we wore. Like I didn't want to wear any more Nike stuff that after I wore it 3 times, it just smelled like shit, and I couldn't like. And you wash it one time, and then you wear it one time, and it smells like shit again. I mean, there's like, or like, it starts to pill, or like. Anyways, like having something that was like antimicrobial, that was moisture wicking, having these like functional like washes to them, that wasn't really a big thing. Yeah, Nike was getting into it with their tech stuff for their like Olympics.
Again, way ahead of your time.
Nike was doing it. I remember like watching the track uniforms for the Olympics. I don't even remember what year that was, but
2012
seeing, like,
probably.
Yeah, the first like seamless laser edging on like their fabrics, and I was just like, wow, what is this technology? It's cool. And so I started to we took like a good year trying to develop some fabric. We found some really good stuff, and again, long story short, it turned into our 5 pieces that now we had to like do something with.
Right.
And so like making the pieces is just like such a small portion of creating a clothing line.
Right.
And like that first launch of how do we get this into the public, and how do we like
market it?
How do we market it is like, again, we need to like ask on our network. We need to like reach out to our family, and the reason we came to New York, because, you know, when your accessibility to more people with just more experience is there, it's just gonna make your process that much easier. And Jason Tome at the time helped me put together a press release, and like we went like official, and I reached out to a huge list of different editors and influencers, which weren't really, I guess, influencers.
They weren't
at the
even
time.
a thing yet.
That wasn't a thing yet, you know.
Holy
but like
shit.
people that will just like, you know, athletes and this, and just like trying to just reach out to as much of our network as possible. Jason put together this beautiful cover letter, and I remember like the day we launched the website, the day we launched the brand, blasting this email before even like MailChimp was a thing, and you could do all these like mass emails at a time. I'm like emailing all these people, and then Jason, like with his connections through like High Snob or Complex or GQ, he would like chirp in and just be like, hey, you know, and because everyone else doesn't even take it a second look, goes right into their trash email, unless you have someone else that's also just like, gives you that like, that support, you know, that little bit of that acknowledgement too, that they already know. And then it just takes that to get, you know, written up in GQ, which was our first press release that was really took us to the next level. Megan Gustashaw, who also has now become a good friend, she wrote that if Rick Owens made activewear, this would be what he would make, and that was like the headline of our article. And we got put up in these Rick Owens like forums and all over Facebook, and we sold out of our first round of product in like 60 days. Like it was boom, it was in and out, like, which, I mean, now people are selling out in like, you know, minutes, you know, like, but like at that point, dude, at that like time, as a brand new brand, it was like we were like flabbergasted that it even worked like that, you know.
Right.
And
well, shout out to your team, man.
Yeah,
the people,
man. Team and the people around you, and that's the biggest. I mean, that's my biggest thing about. Aside from having the passion and the ability and the desire to like keep going and building a brand and knowing like it's going to be a lot of work, like your network and the people around you is probably the most important, like,
Facts.
is the most important thing. And I guess that's true
Facts.
in so many worlds, but for fashion and trying to start from nothing, we were all self-seeded too, no investment.
Right.
We had a couple of like angel donations, I guess, that kind of went just as free packages once we actually created the product. But again, we started out with like 500 pieces, sold through our product, and then we're like, this is working. Let's like make more. And one mistake that we made is, as opposed to making multiple styles and kind of going that way that everyone else is going with like more limited runs and just like maybe different SKUs,
Right.
I did the opposite, and our product was working, and I added a couple colorways and like 2 new SKUs, but I did like 10x the amount of production.
Wow.
So
Damn.
yeah, it was and not only that, we had our cool hunting write-up, we had our GQ write-up, we had a couple other nice little pieces in some magazines that pushed us through, but then the second round came through, and we didn't hustle the same way we did the first time, expecting that this was kind of carry a little bit.
Right.
And it was just a little bit more difficult to get rid of product. Like Gilt reached out to us about like taking on product. We're like, no, we're not trying to sell our stuff at like discounted price like that so soon, and like and then that was one thing I wish I would have kind of done different. It all works out. You live, you learn, but like
that's a crucial part of the game, I think, that people need to understand about the ebbs and flows of being in this industry, about being in fashion. It's like you hot, and then you got to know.
And you scroll three photos, and there's another brand right there.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And how do you think you stay relevant in that time, and in a time where we're bombarded with like a million different the cuts, and then you got ASRV every 3 swipes there's another brand trying to holler at you. Do you think that in this day and age, someone like yourself can even get to that place to be written up by GQ? Do you think that's even possible?
I think it's still definitely possible. It's just, does it cause as much like wave in the ocean as promoting your Instagram ad, every story to like X amount of people, however many times a day? Like,
Do you think you would buy someone else's, if someone saw STLR and it was on their Instagram ads, right? Like in the stories. You think someone would buy it if they just saw it 50,000 times on their stories?
Me? No. Because that's just how if I see it, if it's an ad on a story, too many people already like it, and that's the way I'm like, that's just the way I always have been, and that's why I created my own clothing line, because I just have that kind of mentality. Like,
right.
But most of the world, will like do that. They will like see those ads that are there 50 times, and they will get caught up on an Instagram ad, and they will press those 3 buttons and then have like that delivery coming through. Now a lot of people are opening up GQ prints and trying to like see so and so rocking these shorts, or they're not like opening up like again a cool hunting web page and just trying to find what the trends are. The right people that you want to will, but I guess when it comes to like making money and making a brand like really pop, it's a little bit more about strategically like planning your promotions, and nowadays it's through like social media. Again, social media wasn't even that big. Like, so doing a promotional ad through Facebook or Instagram was like just starting. Now people, there's just so many services. There's apps for it, like it's just like so much more accessible that it's great for someone who wants to start a brand, but it's hard if you really want to stand out as a brand, because there's so many now that exist.
How do you think that you would? How would you stand out? What would stand out to you? What would cut through the noise for you and get your attention?
Yeah, so I also like brands or people to a style that like, no matter what style it is, as long as they know how to like put it together, like I can respect it and appreciate it. Even if it's nothing to do with something I like, I can really appreciate what they're trying to do if I feel like they're doing it right,
Okay.
And I think that what stands out for me is not only seeing it done right, but the community that's around it.
Yes.
Like, that's what I think is the coolest thing, and that's also what I think makes it the most successful, is like if you got like a real following or a real authentic group of people and family around you.
Right.
People want to be a part of that.
Right.
People want to be a part of something special, of something cool, of like, and nowadays, I look for positivity, I look for music, I look for style, I look for like love, I look for smiles, I look for stuff that makes me want to be a part of it,
Right.
And because again, also being a kid who never really wanted to be like a part of things, I always wanted to kind of like, make a left when everyone was going right. Like I've definitely grown to like really like appreciate that, and I think that's what really causes like success.
Man, you hit the nail on the head. I think that that's something a lot of gyms are missing out on, because everybody wants to be Soul Cycle in a sense where they're creating a community and they have this like cult where they're tapping into that part of people's brain that they belong to something, but they're not questioning what they belong to. I think that
That's so real.
you know what I'm saying?
That's so real.
Like if I'm a part of something, I want to know that what I'm a part of is supporting what I believe in. And if I believe in like smiles, having a good time, connecting with people, real love, and really looking out for the people that are around me, from top to bottom.
Yeah.
Not just the people that just show up, but like where are you getting your money from? Are you getting your money from people that are persecuting other people?
Totally.
Or are you getting your money from someone that's like, you know what, I'm gonna make a difference myself, and I'm gonna contribute to something that's really a part of a positive change in the culture. So my last question would be, how do we create that? How do you create a culture around what it is that you're selling, as far as you know, as a clothing brand is considered? There's a really good quote by John Waters that I live by. John Waters said, every revolution has a uniform. And the reason why these keyboard warriors and woke people that are online are losing is because there's no uniform for you sitting in your underwear, you know, battling the patriarchy, or battling whatever's bothering you. There's no uniform for that. I can't put a picture to what these people look like.
Right.
Right?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like hackers had a uniform
Totally.
in the 2000s and 90s. The Black Panthers had a uniform. You know? Like you gotta, my uniform is obviously Ninja from the future. It's Black Ninja from the future today.
Most days.
Most days it is Black Ninja from the future. But it's like, yo, like I'm fighting against the evil network.
Yeah.
That has to have a costume. What costume do you think STLR represents?
It's funny you say that, because like one of our like floating like quotes or like taglines was, we were trying to be a uniform for life, and we wanted to really you know, promote movement artists. Whether you're a dancer, whether you're a musician, whether you're an artist, a muralist, you know, clothing, whatever it is, a chef, a mixologist, just anything that had this creative outlet that we felt created both like mental and physical moves within themselves.
Right.
And that's why we kind of kept everything so simple, because it was about the individual kind of shining through and like they pulling a little bit of like us to like help them create their story.
Right.
Yeah, I think that like the uniform for STLR is just like, again, it's just like individuality within like a beautiful network and a beautiful community of like people and just love, really. That's really what it's about. It's about just like at this point of like pushing out positivity, receiving it in the same way, and people notice that. And that gets people's attention.
They want to be a part of that.
It gets the right attention. Let's put it that way. It gets the attention that like is deserved to get. It
did. I think that, yeah, I hope that STLR becomes the uniform for the revolution of love and connection within individuals, within the personal training community. I think that it's also non-conforming, non-binary, non-gender specific as well.
It's open to anybody.
It's open to everyone, and it's always been that way.
Always. We didn't really know if we wanted to be like a men's or a women's brand. We just wanted to like create pieces. And again, I mean, you look now and like most clothing is kind of unisex, you know?
It is.
And that's actually a really cool wave. And yeah, we've just always kind of been about that individuality within your community, but having that strong community to really like back that individual.
Right. And that's what it's about. It's about individuality, but a community of individualities.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. It's not about everyone kind of, you know, just following a lead. Everyone's has their own thing to bring to the table, and as a come up, you all do it together.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks for having me.
It's always lovely to see you, my good man.
Yes, absolutely.
Love you, man.
Love you too, bro. This has been great, and I appreciate you just letting me come and tell my story.
Of course, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you, B.
Of course. That's a wrap, guys.